Hey, what's going on, guys? RexFX here. I wanted to wait a few days until everything kind of calmed down and we got more information. But we do now. And the healthcare CEO being taken out of this world is something which has really changed the cultural landscape of how we view what is possible in the United States. I have heard so many people mention the man who died, and yet no one has mentioned the millions upon millions of people who his company allowed to die. Until we see the media list and reveal all the names and all the families who have been destroyed by these health insurance companies, I don't care what his name is. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. No one should. It's one life. It's one guy. But because that guy was a CEO, we're supposed to care. What about all the people who were denied coverage? All the people who paid into a system for months, years on end, and they never pay back out. The corporations never pay out to the people who pay in. People who are dependent on a corporation whose entire business model is designed around trying to make sure that they can save as much money as they can, which includes not paying its customers. And that is the problem. These people are these people have customers. These insurance agencies have customers. They don't have patients. They hire a bunch of middlemen who are not professionals, they're not physicians, they have no degree. Imagine being a doctor, going to school for 8+ years so that you can become a licensed surgeon, a licensed physician, some kind. You have a doctorate in something. Your job is to provide value to patients who are sick, who are injured, and who need treatment. Your decision based off of the ailment that is in front of you is then overruled by some guy on a phone, some guy behind a computer who's just working for the corrupt industry that they're in. I don't blame the individual insurance agent themselves, although I do kind of blame them because they ultimately chose to work for that company. They didn't have to, and they chose to do that. They chose to work in such a corrupt industry. Imagine being a doctor, going to school for 8 years, and being told that your decision was going to be overruled by somebody with no degree who never went to school, and their entire job is to ensure that the insurance company does not pay out to its customer. People have to understand, especially people overseas, America's healthcare system is completely different. I realize that everybody's healthcare system is different, but the United States is the only developed nation, and there are even underdeveloped nations which have more public uh, involved health systems. We're the only one that is completely for profit. And you could say, well, what about Medicare? Medicare is for profit. One of my biggest criticisms all of this time, even when I was a teenager, of Medicare, when it first became, or rather Obamacare, which was just Medicare expansion, one of my biggest criticisms was that it forced Americans to go and seek out private health insurance, which then the government would try to negotiate prices for on your behalf. If the government's going to make you get health insurance, then the government should just be responsible for giving you health insurance through a single payer system, through a national health insurance program. That's what I believe. But we are so obsessed with Mario's brother I'm not going to say his name because YouTube's going to get mad at me. They've deleted I don't know how many comments of me talking about this or responding to people who have said that actions have consequences. For this guy, for the lady who was on a Zoom call with her insurance, and then she said, "You're next." That's all she said. She said, "Delay, deny, depose," um, and then she said, "You're next," and then she was arrested and charged with incitement to violence, um, against this medical company, against this insurance agency. This woman is being told that actions have consequences. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. What about the consequences from the actions of these health insurance companies? When are they going to see the consequences of their actions? They are playing a stupid game. Why is it wrong for me and other Americans to want to see them win the prize? I don't get it. I know people say, "Oh, well, violence is never the answer." What? Look, if you're at school and there's a bully, what do you do? If the bully is taking your lunch money and is threatening you with violence, and then finally one day after months of turmoil, you just one day, boom, boom, you bop him a few times in the nose. Now the bully knows you're not to be messed with. But more importantly, other bullies, other people who are potentially thinking of bullying you, are now going to think again. Well, think again. That was a Sandy from SpongeBob reference. I apologize. Bullies only know one thing. That's violence. That's it. That's the only thing that they listen to. It's the only thing they respond to. If they give it, we have to give it back, right? The tree of liberty has to have its branches trimmed from time to time with the blood of tyrants. That's what I say. So, as far as I'm concerned, Mario's brother is a vigilante doling out some needed, long needed trimming of the branches. Because now the leaves that are on those branches, they're terrified. They're very, very terrified, and they should be. Does nobody remember V for Vendetta? Nobody? The government's not supposed to be afraid, or the government's supposed to be afraid of its people. We're not supposed to be afraid of our government. Well, who owns the government? Corporations and all their various lobbying interests, or lobbyists in order to push for their interests. The government does not respond to the will of the people, it responds to the money of the rich. If you can't reform a system, what is there left to do but revolt? If you've said your piece and you've got nothing and you've got nothing to show for it, what is there left than violence? I'm not advocating for it. I'm not. What I am saying, though, is what other alternative is there? Same thing with unions. The union workers agree to go on strike because the alternative of going on strike is that the union boys go in with their own weapons and they cause mayhem. They kick down the doors of the factory. They rip shit apart. They go into the guy's house who owns the place and they say, "Look, we're not going to negotiate anymore because you've made it clear that negotiations are not in your interest." Well, they're not in our interest anymore either. We're no longer asking. We're no longer negotiating. We're demanding. The American people are demanding. They're demanding change. So many people have been torn to shreds and ripped apart from this broken system. So many people. I know people who have. I almost was. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet. But we need to quit spending money on Israel and Gaza. We ought to stop spending money on Ukraine and Syria now with all that crap going on. We got to stop spending money on providing immigrants with hotel room service and cards and driver's licenses and business loans so that they can go and say, hey, bring your family. The American dream is real. Only for you, though. Actual Americans, nah, that dream is long dead. Well, you know why they call it the American dream? We got to be asleep to believe in it. And right now, everyone is hoping, everyone is dreaming that the nightmare that is the American healthcare system will be gone when we wake up. Peace out. Chaos in.